Lots more. West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM. It's useful.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Mali detains dozens of soldiers, including 2 generals, over alleged plot to undermine transitional government. Burkinabe army foils attack in Kanshari and neutralize 100 terrorists. Thousands rally in Cote d'Ivoire against Ouattara's 4-term bid.
Alassane Ouattara's dominance, the use of security forces and all to undermine civic space has been very high, that the people are afraid to speak. But coming out now in large number to protest, it means that the people damn the consequence of whatever will come out from Alassane Ouattara.
And 2 of 8 Ghana helicopter crash victims laid to rest under Islamic rites.
Murtala, I mentored from when he was a new MP at Nanton, one of our very bright intellectuals, very eloquent in Parliament. Muniru was like a younger brother. I believe by Allah's grace that he will receive them in Jannat al-Firdaus.
Stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
My name is Sankule Janko. Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana and Liberia. We begin the bulletin from the Sahel as more authorities in Mali have launched a series of arrests within the military ranks, detaining at least 45 soldiers amid allegations of an attempted plot to undermine the country's transitional leadership. Among those apprehended are 2 high-ranking generals as security forces continue to rounding up suspects. Imo Edit completes the story.
A wave of arrests within the military has continued, with at least 2 more soldiers reportedly detained in the capital Bamako on Sunday. The arrests, which took place at the soldiers' homes, bring the total number of detained personnel to an estimated 45, though some reports suggest the figure may be slightly lower. Their whereabouts remain unknown, and family members say they have been unable to make contact. Additional arrests occurred overnight into Monday, with this time involving members of the National Guard, a branch of the armed forces closely linked to Defense Minister General Sadio Kamara. Despite growing scrutiny of the Guard, Kamara himself has not been affected. Among those detained are 2 high-ranking officers, General Abbas Dembele, formerly in charge of operations in northern Mali and later governor of Mopti, and Brigadier General Nema Sagara, a senior Air Force officer, one of the few women in Mali's top military ranks. While there has been no official statement from the military leadership, a senior officer close to the ruling junta said the arrests were due to an attempt to destabilize the transition, adding that military regulations are clear on such matters. The detentions have sparked mixed reactions. Some view them as necessary to protect the country's fragile political transition. Others fear they may be part of a broader effort to sideline influential or dissenting voices within the armed forces.
More of that with that report. In Niger, the army says it has rescued around 50 migrants who were stranded in the desert near the Libyan border earlier this week. The rescue was made public on Sunday, August 10. According to the military, the group, which included 4 women, was traveling along the remote Madamadao Road en route to Libya, a common transit point for migrants trying to reach Europe. Their journey came to a halt when their vehicle broke down, leaving them exposed to the harsh desert heat for over 24 hours. An army patrol eventually discovered the group, many of whom were severely dehydrated. The search operation was also launched to locate several individuals who had wandered off in search of food and water. Fortunately, all were found alive. After receiving emergency care, the migrants were transferred to the nearby town of Mandawa for further assistance. Northern Niger remains a dangerous but heavily used route for migrants. And with the repeal of Niger's anti-smuggling law in late 2023, concerns persist over rising migrant flows and safety in the desert region. Let's remain in the Sahel and head to Burkina Faso. The Burkina Information Agency says the Burkinabe army neutralized around 100 terrorists in the eastern region on Saturday, August 9, in an operation that reportedly foiled a large-scale attack on the town of Kanchari. Details from Augustine Coley.
The Burkina Faso Information Agency, ARB, reported on Sunday that the army had foiled a new terrorist attack in the east of the country. According to the agency, the Burkinabe armed forces routed a group of fighters who were allegedly planning an assault on Kanchari. The operation, which ARB said was carried out by the 24th Rapid Intervention Brigade, reportedly resulted in the neutralization of about 100 terrorists. The agency added that the offensive took place against the backdrop of heightened security activity throughout July in several regions. According to ARB, attacks were also thwarted in Idangu in the east, Kambori in Buku Dumuhon, Jibo and Tapako in the Sahel, and other areas in the far west, including the southwest and Cascades regions. However, the agency did not give an overall casualty toll for the operations it announced.
Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Kaba's report presented by Augustine Coley. From the Sahel, we head to Chad, where the country is commemorating its 65th anniversary of independence this Monday today. On the eve of the celebrations, President Mahamad Déby Itno delivered a national address calling on citizens to uphold peace and unity against a backdrop of heightened security tensions. His speech came just a day after his main political rival, Success Masra, was sentenced to 20 years in prison and fined 1 billion CFA francs for spreading messages of racist and xenophobic nature, a ruling that cast doubt on his political future. Christopher Atichu reports.
Masra's conviction stems from intercommunal clashes in Mandakao on May 14 that left 42 people dead. Authorities accuse him of releasing audio messages deemed racist and xenophobic, allegedly inciting the violence. According to Dr. Everett Tode, a Chadian political analyst, the conviction appears aimed at sidelining Masra from politics in the absence of concrete evidence.
Many Chadians believe that the justice system sought to eliminate a political opponent, given the absence of evidence. The judges, they say, missed a historic opportunity to uphold the law and spare the country renewed political tension and unnecessary instability.
The analyst adds that the opposition leader could still make a strong comeback.
Such a conviction, even if it does not enhance the individual's reputation, could draw new sympathies to his political party. While a conviction can sideline a political opponent, it can also elevate his profile. In my view, a notable segment of national opinion shares this perspective.
In his address, President Déby called for national unity and extended an olive branch to the opposition.
None of our announced goals can be achieved without peace, security, integrity, and unity. Despite a challenging regional security climate marked by conflict in our immediate neighborhood, we remain more committed than ever at the highest level to safeguarding the progress we have made.
He also urged stronger action against corruption and announced a national development plan, Chad Connection 2030, with a funding roundtable set for Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates.
Christopher Atichu with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Côte d'Ivoire, several thousand people took to the streets of Yopougon this weekend at the call of the United Front, PPACI and PDCI. The peaceful march demanded the reinstatement of opposition members removed from the electoral roll and denounced President Alassane Ouattara's bid for a fourth term. Political analyst Jabiga Soro described the mobilization as unprecedented and said it could push authorities to meet the opposition's demand. Take a listen to Jabiga Soro speaking to Mustafa Jakite.
Everything now hinges on the balance of power, and I can assure you that positions have shifted. Those who thought the opposition was finished are being forced to rethink. The opposition had requested to hold its event in the plateau, but it was refused. Instead, they were given a stretch of road from Saguidiba Junction to the Figayo area. The entire route was packed continuously, not intermittently, with a sea of people from one end to the other. If you know the distance, you will understand that this sent a strong signal to the government. If our demands are not met and dialogue is not opened, the situation could deteriorate. I believe that in the coming days, we may have good news. If not, on August 16, there will be another major rally where Laurent Gbagbo will address supporters, a move that could further drive home our message. The government now has no choice but to come down to earth and engage with opposition to resolve matters before we spiral back into violence. We all remember 2010-2011, and no Ivorian wants to go through that again.
Political analyst Jabiga Soro there. Still in Cote d'Ivoire, the African People's Party Cote d'Ivoire PPACI, led by former President Laurent Gbagbo, has condemned the detention of two senior members, former Defense Minister Moise Lida Kouassi and Ambassador Kone Boubacar, arrested on August 8, 2025 in connection with violence in Yopougon on August 1. Party officials say the pair accused of instigating the unrest remain in custody under questionable legal conditions, while a third summoned official was released after questioning. The arrest followed their detention of 6 party members after a bus was set ablaze. At a press conference on August 10, PPACI Executive President Professor Sebastian Dano Jeje denounced the arrest as politically motivated and part of a wider crackdown on dissent. He called for the immediate release of all political prisoners, estimated by the party at nearly 100, and criticized the government's refusal to political dialogue. The PPACI is pushing for electoral reforms, an audit of the voter roll, and the inclusion of Gbagbo on the electoral list ahead of the October 25, 2025 presidential election. The party reaffirmed its commitment for opposition to President Alassane Ouattara's potential fourth term. To some troubling news coming from Liberia, a disturbing case in Monrovia is raising fresh concerns over child protection in Liberia. A 12-year-old girl alleges she was raped in June by a 28-year-old community member who she says recorded the assault and threatened to blackmail her if she spoke out. The case has triggered outrage among residents who are questioning local authorities' handling of rape cases. Many are calling on the Liberia National Police and the Ministry of Gender to act faster in protecting victims and delivering justice. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The survivor says she first met the alleged perpetrator, Joyce Lindsay, to do a messenger friend request. She recounts being pulled into a room, assaulted and filmed. She claims the man later sent her the video and warned her not to tell anyone. Her sister, who spoke on condition of anonymity, says the family discovered the videos after a younger brother accessed the victim's phone. She criticized both the authorities and their mother, a church leader, suggesting that fear of public shame may have delayed action.
He already go to the police station and reported the case. So when he called me, my friend took me to call where I went. I told him, I said, carry her to the hospital. So when the police get you paper, I'll call her retention. You wait for me, they are coming. But I noticed, can I explain? They went into the police station and the conversation are on the phone is different. Then what she told the people the retention is different. I want to ask her, she said, oh, Mama gave me. She was not even taking a one single letter.
Police spokesperson Cecilia Clark told WADR the Liberian National Police remain committed to securing justice for the victim and are actively pursuing the suspect who is reportedly at large.
It's very, very disturbing, and we'll do all we can. We'll start from there. I've already started in follow-up. We are all tearing as mothers, but I can assure that we get to the bottom of this.
As Liberia continues to grapple with sexual violence, communities are urging stronger protections, faster investigations, and better support for survivors. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
In Ghana, news of the tragic helicopter crash is still dominating the headlines. Ghanaians on Sunday, August 10, bid a solemn farewell to two of the 8 victims of the August 6 military helicopter crash. Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and MP for Tamale Central, and Alhaji Limuna Muniru Mohammed, Acting Deputy National Secretary Coordinator. The Ghana Armed Forces reported that the Z9 helicopter carrying 3 crew members and 5 passengers went off the radar shortly after departing Accra at 9 a.m. It was en route to Obasi for an event to address illegal mining when it crashed in the Adanse Akwafrom district. A search and rescue mission later confirmed all on board had died. 90 detected reports.
In line with Islamic tradition, janaza prayers were performed at the forecourt of the State House in Accra, followed by burial at the military cemetery near Burma Camp. The ceremony drew President John Dramani Mahama, Vice President Nana Jane Opokwajiman, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin, National Chief Imam Sheikh Osman Nuhu Sharbutu, bereaved families, government officials, MPs, the Muslim community and members of the public. President Mahama reflected on his relationship with the two and prayed for Allah to grant them Jannatul Firdaus.
Murtala, I mentored from when he was a new MP at Nanton, and he had been a devout member of our team, one of our very bright intellectuals, very eloquent in Parliament, and he had been a part of our reset agenda. Muniru was like a younger brother.
An interdenominational state funeral for all crash victims will be held on Friday, August 15 at the Black Star Square. The government declared a 3-day national mourning period, beginning with a flower-laying ceremony and culminating on Saturday, August 9, with an evening of reflection and memorial service attended by ECOWAS Chairman and Sierra Leonean President Julius Madabio. NDC General Secretary Fifi Abikwete said the tragedy must serve as a catalyst to intensify the fight against illegal mining.
What we can do in order to honor their memory is to ensure that this battle is waged until gold again become a true essence of this beautiful nation.
The crash claimed the lives of Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omane Boama, Environment Minister Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Limuna, Samuel Abwaji, Samuel Sapong, and Air Force crew members, Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Menin Chum Ambofo, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensa. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Mali detains dozens of soldiers, including 2 generals, over alleged plot to undermine transitional government. Burkina Army falls attack in Kanchari and neutralizes 100 terrorists. Thousands rally in Cote d'Ivoire against Ouattara's 4-term bid, and 2 of 8 Ghana helicopter crash victims laid to rest on the Islamic rites. Still ahead in the news, we have newspaper review, guest interview, and sport news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's head to Nigeria, where a retired senior Nigerian customs officer is calling for the return of capital punishment for drug-related offences. Ibrahim Etsu, a former assistant controller who once led the customs drug control unit, says they can be recorded a sharp drop in illicit drug trafficking and consumption when the death penalty was enforced. He believes reinstating the measure could help tackle the surge in insecurity linked to drug abuse. Take a listen.
The main challenge we had was in charge of, in respect of these drugs, which I was also in charge of. So many people were involved in this drug business by that time. I know during Buhari's first regime, the thing got reduced seriously as a result of punishment, of capital punishment. But when Buhari's regime was brought down and Babangida took over, the thing escalated. So during this period, as a result of escalation of illicit drugs, I set up a committee within my department to find out what are the reasons why people are so much involved in these illicit drugs. Then, as a result of a report I got from them, I made sure that the department advised NDLEA on what to do to reduce this menace. And unfortunately, the thing was reduced And they will discover that the only main reason why the thing will be brought to an end was this capital punishment. Without this capital punishment, nothing will prevent people still in engaging in this illicit drug. So my advice to the government up to this very moment is that they should introduce this capital punishment in respect of this illicit drug, because the thing is destroying. You could see a place like Kano, where husband killing the wife, wife killing the husband. All these are the result of illicit drugs. If it is banditry, I can assure you that they are done under the influence of these drugs.
A retired senior Nigerian Customs Assistant Controller Ibrahim Etsu.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, for all the latest news headlines in Liberia, let's join our Monrovia correspondent, Abraham Parker.
Welcome to the Monday's edition of Press Review from Liberia's capital, Monrovia. This edition begins with the Women Voices newspaper, and it goes with these headlines. Gay marriage wahala lingers. Methodist members forced to worship on sidewalk as police block church's gate. Konian Town graduates 502 girls from Sunday board. That does it for the Women's Voices newspaper. Next is the Heritage newspaper. President Bouaka dedicates 2 military barracks, charters eyeing the forces of Liberia to maintain professionalism. The second story says, court dismisses 12-year-old criminal case against the couple. Still on the Heritage, amid the still no to drug protest, Liberian artist Alonso orders arrested with drugs. And to conclude on the Heritage, President Bouaka receives Noka's report, pledges support. Our next and final stop is the Liberian investigator. They tried to kill me. Moserado County Senator Sir Joseph accuses former President George Weah and the Congress for Democratic Change of corruption, betrayal, and assassination plots as he moves to form new political party. Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation unveils 156 million plan. Sylvester Grisby, Liberia's Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, dies at 77. Well, that does it for this edition of Press Review. From Liberia's capital, Monrovia, is back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Abraham Parker, with the newspaper review from Liberia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Now back to Cote d'Ivoire, where political tensions are heating up ahead of the upcoming elections. Over the weekend, thousands of demonstrators flooded the streets of Yapogo and Abidjan, answering the call of the United Opposition Front, PPACI and PDCI. The peaceful marchers were demanding the reinstatement of opposition figures removed from the electoral roll and strongly opposing President Alassane Ouattara's potential bid for a full term in office. To help us unpack the significance of these protests and what it means for Cote d'Ivoire's democracy, we are joined by our guest this afternoon, Augustine Aigba, liaison officer at the West African Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS.
So what you are seeing in Cote d'Ivoire is largely a resort to self-help by the citizens. As ECOWAS, we always say that the citizens need to respond before international community can come in. So the same thing that happened in Senegal when Macky Sall attempted a third term and eventually people arose and ECOWAS and other organizations, including the Council of Bishops, intervened. So in Cote d'Ivoire, it is more of a systemic challenge that I think President Alassane Ouattara has captured the entire fragment of the system, including the international organizations who are supposed to stand up for the Ivorian people. The exclusion of the former leaders, including Laurent Gbagbo, from the electoral process earlier this year had sent a strong signal that even Ouattara was not going to contest. In an attempt to return back to power, he has further shrinking the participation space, particularly the civic space. So what is happening today is the people's resistance, the people standing up against his fourth-term bid to power. And if you understand Cote d'Ivoire, particularly in the last 4 years, Alassane Ouattara's dominance, the use of security forces and all to undermine civic space has been very high, that the people are afraid to speak. But coming out now in large number to protest, it means that the people damn the consequence of whatever will come out from Alassane Ouattara. But my fear is that what happened in the previous election, where hundreds died over the same cause, may end up happening again. And this time, it may be worse off because I think that people no longer want Alassane Ouattara as president.
And that leads me to my next question, because the protesters are demanding the reinstatement of opposition members removed from the electoral roll. How significant is this issue in the lead up to the elections? And what are the potential consequences if it is not addressed?
It is very significant, very, very significant, because there's going to be mounted pressure. Pressure will be mounted more. Ouattara is going to send the police, the army to the street to crack them down. The same thing we saw in Senegal is going to ensure that the election go ahead and is going to be returned as elected president, and there may be more anarchy. And that is why I think it is very significant. And that is why I also think it's about this time that international community weighed in before more lives are lost again, as we lost them the last election. But I also think that it's time for opposition to rally around and be more united. If it disqualified Laurent Gbagbo and the former Swiss executive, rally around another individual, the same strategy that was done in Senegal, that even though the main leader was arrested, he just switched over to fire because of the coordination and unity. So I think that the Ivorian people need to learn from what happened in Senegal. Senegal has become a model in democratic consolidation and democratic strengthening in West Africa particularly.
The protests also rejected, like you've already mentioned, President Ouattara's possible bid for a fourth term. How does this align with Côte d'Ivoire's constitutional limits? And what precedents could this set for democratic governance in the country?
From a Ouattara's point of view, is now going for a second term in office according to the constitution. But everybody knows that Ouattara is now going for a fourth term in office. Haven't been in power in the last about 16 years. So now it doesn't seem like Ouattara want to step down. By the time, if he wins now, what is called a fourth term now, and he decides to change the constitution again and remove the term limit, it will again continue to run. The conversation is whether Alassane Ouattara has a moral ground to actually continue third term and now fourth term, whereas the constitution, by way of his elongation term, permits him to run for a second term, which automatically make it a fourth term. So the conversation should be among us as citizens of West Africa. Is Ouattara right to change the constitution and continue to elongate his tenure, or they should just allow him to run this second term, which is his fourth term, and then he will no longer run? But what is the guarantee?
Well, of course, Austin Agba is a liaison officer at the West Africa Democracy Radio Solidarity Network, Wademons. Well, in sport, we've seen some amazing games, haven't we, in the CHAN? Because Kenya's turned two-time champions Morocco with a 1-0 victory in Nairobi at the CAF CHAN Pomoja 2024 on Sunday. Ryan Ogam's first half goal sealed the win as the hosts held firm despite playing the entire second half with 10 men after a red card to Crispin Arambo. The result keeps Kenya unbeaten in Group A and within the reach of a historic quarter-final spot on their tournament debut. Also on Sunday in Nairobi, Mauritania secured a crucial 1-0 win over Central African Republic Kahar in a tense Group B encounter at the CHAN Pomoja 2024 tournament. The narrow victory reignites Mauritania's hopes of advancing, with coach Gray Ortiz Lopez calling it a moment of validation in a fiercely contested group. And today in the fixtures in the African Nations Championship CHAN, Uganda will take on Niger while West African side Guinea takes on South Africa. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umu Danyogo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms X and Instagram at WDR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WDR's flagship health program, World Body with Imo Edit. I am Sankule Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.